claims they make about him, so he wants hard questions. I'll throw them at him. You want it, you got it. I was planning a few of those, but I wanted to let him have his say first. But here are some of the questions we've got coming in at Real Alex Jones on Twitter. Is the antivirus business legit, or are the same companies creating viruses to push their products, as we've always heard, or is that a urban legend, or is it a mix of both? I mean, I know our government created Stuxnet, launched it on Iran, and then so they wanted cybersecurity takeover in the name of fighting Stuxnet, which they admittedly created with Israel. So what's your breakdown on that? Because you're the big granddaddy of antivirus, Mr. McAfee.
Okay, I'd first like to say that I've had absolutely nothing to do with the antivirus business for 20 years. But the idea that antivirus companies would create viruses is utterly absurd, because there are hundreds of thousands of people out there doing it as we speak. Why would you waste money? Why would you waste the effort? If I were running an antivirus company and I had the choice of hiring a programmer to fight the viruses to make my product better, or hiring one to create a virus, only a madman would do the first.
Because there's so many new viruses, what you want to do is create something to counter them, but also go out and hype how deadly the virus is.
Absolutely. Now, you might market how deadly they are, and maybe you might exaggerate that, I don't know, but even then there's no need. But certainly creating them would be counterproductive, and such a company I don't think would last long in this business.
Yeah, it would be very, very reckless. I think that's more of a government purview, or against other governments. Great question. More questions coming up. Okay, you want tough questions? Here it is. McAfee retires to Belize, setting up Ambergris Key. I've stayed on Ambergris Key, a tiny island 36 miles off the coast. He builds a fence compound and staffs it with armed guards. Yeah, when I used to fly in, it was a dirt runway. February 2010, Quorum EX, a new venture by McAfee, headquartered in Belize, launches its purpose to develop commercial antibiotics. In 2012, one of his properties is raided by Belize Police Force Gang Suppression Unit, as he is arrested but not charged on suspicion of making crystal meth and possessing unlicensed firearms. In the raid, he is reportedly pulled out of bed with a 17-year-old girlfriend. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, yes, sir.
So you probably wouldn't be in trouble if you were a congressman chasing a 14-year-old page, though, male page.
Or even a female page at 14. The age of consent in Belize is 16. I did not say I was a perfect man. Everybody has their likes and dislikes. I like women. Some men like bowling, golf. It's my choice. Perhaps it's an unwise choice to be hanging out with a 17-year-old girl when I could be, especially in this country, her great-grandfather. But that does not make me a murderer.
No, I don't think it does. Okay, continuing here with these points. You interrogate yourself. You want tough questions. What are some tough questions I should be asking?
Good Lord.
Are you the Easter Bunny?
Much made of the fact that I was living with multiple women. Again, I would give the same answer. We all have our likes and dislikes. I'm not sure. Did you get no Twitter responses, sir? No,
I've got a ton of them coming in, but we just tweeted it during the break, and
sorry.
And my problem is I can't really walk and chew gum, so I can go to my tweet. They're actually bringing me a whole stack of questions here right now. Here, I'll ask you the questions. Ask him if he is concerned his guns will never be given back, and if he will be an excuse for the government needs to outlaw them. Well, I mean, they've already pretty much restricted them in Belize, right? So there's a question about guns.
Yeah, the question comes, all of my guns were licensed. Why did I have so many? When I moved to the mainland, to the interior on the river, I was the only white man living in an entire district of 30,000 people. And I was apparently wealthy. I had cars, I had big houses. It's an extremely poor district. It was unwise for me to display my wealth, perhaps. But we had many, many robbery attempts, and it just occurred to me that there's no way to protect myself and my property without security, hence the guns. As to will they be given back, for 7 months I've been attempting to get them back. Through lawyers, the embassy tried once. The government refuses, saying, we have not concluded our investigation.
Well, I mean, you can never have enough guns. So, I mean, they're a great investment, and it's like a dragon's hoard. They say the more gold a dragon has, the more psychic they are, the more guns you have, just the better you sleep at night. I mean, it's fun to, like, sleep on giant crates full of 50 calibers. Don't you agree?
Well, I'm not sure about that, sir, but I think under some circumstances, guns are, in fact, necessary.
Yeah, well, I like to personally... It's just, you sleep better on just a huge mountain of crates of firearms and ammunition.
I'm not sure. I've never tried it, but perhaps you're right.
No, I'm serious. There's something magic about it. Okay, I'm being a little sarcastic. Not really.
All right.
It's actually kind of ridiculous. I don't need to get near gun shops is the point. I'm not really a big shopper unless I enter a gun shop. And, well, you ever seen Rodney Dangerfield in... what's the movie Caddyshack? When he goes, I'll take one of those, two of those, and three of those. Oh, look at this hat. Looks good on you. Okay, what is his take on Steve Jobs' death? You want questions? Here they are.
I'm not sure what the relevance is, but I thought that Steve Jobs was certainly one of the premier entrepreneurs of America. He was one of the few that had heart and sense. His passing was tragic.
Okay, here's another one.
For those who are interested, I would recommend strongly his commencement address to Stanford, probably one of the finest commencement addresses I have ever heard, and very moving. I actually cried at the end.
Wow. Interesting. Here's a serious question. Why don't you give yourself to the authorities for due process?
Because the due process of throwing me in a cell, hanging me with my own belt, and then telling the world that Mr. McAfee, in shame, hung himself, is not exactly what I would like to do this day.
Yeah, I had the Rockwall cops tell me they were going to kill me in a jail cell. I didn't stop talking about their drug dealing, so I believe you. How do you feel about the outcome of the election here in the U.S.?
I had predicted it well in advance. You know, since I don't live there anymore, it doesn't affect me very much, but I have no problems with Mr. Obama. To be frank, sir, I try to divorce myself from political affiliations. I think that in the end, no matter which party wins, nothing changes.
I got a bunch of other, I'm just reading all these questions, trying to think of which one to read, because a bunch of them are profane. It says, if you went camping when you woke up and your bleep was greasy, would you tell anyone? See, that's the problem. And there's a whole bunch more of these coming in. They're printing them off to bring them into me. Well, you know, when this interview ends...
Sounds like the comments I get on my blog that I have to unfortunately filter through.
Exactly, but let's expand on this. After you leave us in 5 minutes, you'll undoubtedly wish you would have said something. Let's say that now. What do you most importantly want to transmit to the Belizean authorities in their little greasy, tight-fitting police uniforms? I mean, I've seen the Belizean police. They look like something directly out of central casting of third world seedy people, but I'm not trying to be mean, but it is a fact. What would you like to say to them? I'm sure. But you know what? Maybe just because they're bad, I'm thinking you're good. I mean, how do we know?
No, and I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't even say they're bad, sir. I think by and large, the Belizean police are decent people. They get paid the equivalent of less than $1 an hour. And they're expected to do work that puts their life in danger. It isn't the police itself. It's the bureaucracy that supports them and controls them. It's the higher-ups that use the police for their own interests, to usher their drug deals and protect their own interests rather than protect the public. So
you don't think there's any narcotics?
I think that I am bashing the Belizean police as a people. I'm bashing the higher-ups in the government for their outrageous selfishness and greed.
Are you related to Rob Zombie?
Am I what?
Rob Zombie, the rock and roll star. You look a lot like him, or he looks like you. You're not really his...
I don't think I'm related, but then, much in my family background I don't know about, so who knows?
You're not really his father, are you?
God, I hope not.
I'm just joking. I'm going to stop right now. Well, listen, it's really interesting talking to you. What do you know about the New World Order, the global government, the NSA spying on people, the cancer viruses and the vaccines? Ever heard about that?
Of course. Well, there is a New World Order. We all know that, but I think that I would point my finger first at the global press, not yourself, sir. I'm talking about the classical press that is interested in making money and making it as quickly as possible and making it through sensationalism and perversion of the facts. I think that we first get our ideas from what we see on television and what we read in the press. Do you think that we could have convinced the world that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq if we had not first had the press convince us?
No, that's right. They prepare the mind for it. Here's another question. Have you ever tried bath salts or any Schedule I drugs?
Absolutely not.
Well,
they didn't have those when I was doing drugs. some 30-odd years ago. I'm sure I would have at the time, but no, I did not have the opportunity.
Well, you don't look like you're doing drugs.